Welcome to another episode of the Coach Up Podcast extension. I am very excited today because many of you have either had this problem, know somebody who has this problem, or may have this problem now. And it has to do with that tricky little thing that we have in the United States. I don't know if it's in other countries or not, that impacts highly your adult life when you want to buy big things. Little thing called credit. And I am excited today to be here with Coach LeBarron Durant, who is going to be talking to us because this is his area of expertise. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as all the fears and concerns that surround this particular topic and how he helps you guys to move through this. So, LeBarron, will you please tell people who you are, exactly what it is that you do, because that's just a small piece, and who you work with?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kanisha. My name is LeBarron. I am the founder of Durant Enterprises, which is a credit education firm. And we specialize in helping to educate young adults and aspiring investors who are looking to get lending for various sources. We help them understand their credit. So whether it be for getting a car, business name, getting some business credit, whatever it is that you want lending for, we help you understand your credit so that you can make better decisions for the future.
You mentioned credit for business. That's a whole nother topic we could talk about, especially because this is a podcast that is for coaches specifically. Yeah. But if we get time, we'll come back to that. If not, coaches, audience, you all should reach out to LeBarron, which his information is in the show notes, and you'll hear how to at the end of our conversation. But what I want to focus on today is, all right, so real quick, LeBarron, can you give me the quick reason why you even got into credit? Because as I mentioned, right, like credit in the United States is huge for adults. Yeah. I remember not even knowing that I needed credit when I got out of college.
And that's the exact reason.
Okay. And I'm like, why did my parents not have this conversation with me? I'm confused, except the conversation of don't get a credit card. But we didn't talk anything about what was behind all of that.
Credit is the devil. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so real quick, how did you get into this? Why did you get into this? And then we'll get into some of the areas that go along with it.
All right. So how I got into it is I was an aspiring investor. Of course, we've all been young adults. I didn't know that I needed credit at the time that I needed it. So when I started to look for opportunities where I could invest, I would hear a lot of people saying, use your business credit, use this, use that, and you don't have to use your personal credit. I found out that there were holes in that story. So me going out looking for lending for investments, and the first thing that I was going to do was do fix and flips. And then I was also looking at doing, the other thing I was looking at was wholesaling. Wholesaling, you don't need to use your credit to do that because you broker a deal kind of thing. But that is really hard to do as far as like getting into how you do wholesaling. It takes a lot of work up front, a lot of money up front for you to even advertise this stuff. But the quick and dirty is that I wanted to be an investor in real estate, and I kept hearing no from the people that I was going to get the lending. So the reason I was getting the no's was because of my credit. And personal credit is how you give a personal guarantee on the lending vehicles that you're going to get for investments. So like I said, a lot of people tell you that you can use your business credit, and you can, but they're going to look at your personal credit for you for them to give you business credit. So on some level, somehow they're going to use somebody's personal credit. So let's say, Kanisha, you had an 800 credit score and I had $100,000. We could partner up, but and we could use a LLC that we established together, but they're still going to look at your credit because you're the one with the strong credit score. Mm-hmm. So even though they're not going to use mine, they would still use somebody's personal credit as a personal guarantee. So now that I'm partnered up with you, they say, okay, well, he must make good decisions if he knows this person with 800 credit. So let's go ahead and give them money. So right. That's how I got into it. And the why I got into it was because of the exact reason that you said. When you came out of college, you didn't know that you were going to need credit. And a lot of the underserved community gets the same messages about credit, that credit is the devil, or credit, they're just gonna hit you with the 26% interest, and you'll be paying on it forever. And we don't get the gems about uh, utilizing the credit to our advantage, to where you have 30 days to make this work for you, and it's free for those 30 days. But if you can leverage it within the 30 days and you have a plan for that money within that 30 days, then it costs you nothing.
Yeah, nobody's ever said that that money is free um, for 30 days, unless you're talking about a 0% interest, because typically you would think you make a purchase, you use the money, interest starts being charged immediately. That's not true.
It's not true. Interest only accrued after the 31st day.
LeBarron, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they don't charge you interest on the first 30 days. Like you, and then you, and that's the other thing. You have to look at your the dates that your credit card sends you. And they're going to give you, I mean, of course, everybody knows the date that it's due, like the due date. But the other date that you're looking at is the statement dates. So the statement period is the period that you can use that money, and they don't charge you for using that money.
Got the
So
first
if your
30 days.
statement period is from the 11th to the 11th, then all of the money that you use from the 11th, like just say January 11th to February 11th, let's say you had a zero balance. You put your all of your utilities on there because that's what's in your budget. And let's say you get some rewards for that card. Let's say your utilities are $1,000. You put $1,000 on your card. They're not going to charge you for that $1,000 from the 11th to the 11th.
That is good information to know. I did not know that. Okay.
But your due date is always after your statement date, so they can charge you for that money.
And so that they can make their money. Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, it's, as you said, the first 30 days that you make that charge, right? So 6 months from now, you're still getting charged in between the 11th and the 11th. Okay. Because this conversation in particular is about the fears that go along with anything that, like you guys know that I'm doing a series about how do we forge through fear in the different areas of expertise of the coaches I'm talking to. And so we're talking about credit.
Right.
You mentioned people say that credit is the devil. That is one of the fears that is put into so many people at a young age.
It is.
Don't use credit. I mean, I enjoy Dave Ramsey, but Dave Ramsey's whole platform is don't have a credit score because you don't need to put anything on credit. Credit is bad. And so from him to the parents that are teaching,
right,
credit is the devil. Why is that fear instilled into people?
So there's, and this is, of course, this is my my expertise around this after talking to a lot of people. I think it's because fear is more powerful than empowerment. Like when you talk about the fear aspect of it will make you move quicker than somebody saying, okay, you have an opportunity to win $1 million in the lottery. Oh, well, you're going to get shot if you don't do this. Like the thing that you fear the most is going to make you move the quickest. So I think when you get into a scarcity mindset, and that's what I feel like Dave Ramsey uses when he does his teaching, and that works for some people. Like, don't get me wrong, the principles that he teaches are very good principles, but the mindset around those principles don't work for everybody. And there are people that will get out of debt using Dave Ramsey's principles, and I've seen a lot of them get back into debt after using his principles. So, and one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients are you need balance. You need to have the frugal balance that says, I need to do the best thing I can with my money. I need to invest because I need to be a good steward of my money. And I'm a Christian, of course. So like these are in the Bible. These are things that you can learn in the Bible. So you need to be frugal. You need to be a good steward of your money, but you also need to have that thing that says my Father's going to take care of me. So you need both of those parts in your brain to be balanced and to also think ahead, to put away money for the future, but not putting it away because you're scared that something's going to happen. You put it away so that you can invest in things, or so that you can take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you when they're presented to you.
So many people, I know I were taught you save and you don't invest because investment is risky. Whereas what you're saying is, right, like, be a good steward. Yes, the Lord clearly teaches,
Yeah.
be a good steward of what I entrust to you. And when you are, he will multiply that. He is a God
Right.
of multiplication. For clarification, we're talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Jesus Christ, Dad.
There
Okay.
you go.
Just okay. Make sure people know which God we're talking about. But the multiplication will happen when you are a good steward. And the investment part comes where you don't put everything away. You do have to risk some things in order to gain.
Right.
And that is where I think credit can be used if
Right.
used wisely.
Correct. And
How?
you were saying putting it away, and in some instances, putting it away and waiting for it can be squandering it, because the way inflation works, you're losing money on your money if you just put it away and wait. Because, like, if you put it under your mattress, like $1,000 you put under your mattress, and you wait till 3 years from now, it's not going to be worth $1,000 anymore, or it's not going to be worth the same thousand that it was before. You'll be able to get less for it. But just like you were saying, that putting it away and investment might be risky, but it's also risky not to invest. Like,
Yeah.
there's risk on anything. So it's like, well, which risk do you want? Do you want the risk of having that money in your hand? And money is just a transfer of energy anyway. So having that money in your hand is still risky.
Yeah, that's good. And you know what? I think the fear, and you have talked to a lot of people about this, so definitely want to know what you think. I think part of the fear comes from those who came before us, whether it's parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever,
Mhm.
who have not managed their money well, or who were in situations where the money wasn't managed well, or were in situations where they were poor,
Right.
or poorer than what they may be providing for their family now. And
Right.
so they shy away from, they have a fear of scarcity mentality, like you
Mhm.
said, um, or fear that the money will go away if we use credit. Also, that money could be called due and we don't have it, and now we're in a difficult situation. And those fears then are transferred to their children, which then
Right.
gives an uneducated um, mindset on how to utilize what is available to us. Is that what you found, or have you found something different?
Yeah. Yeah, I found that, and it does transfer. And I mean, I'm sure when you're talking about fear, and you've had many people on your podcast, and then the acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real, and the root of fear is looking at patterns and then predicting what's going to happen based on that pattern. So if you look at, yeah, there have been a lot of people that may have put their money into the, the stock market. There's a lot of people that have lost money in the stock market, but there's also a lot of people that made a lot of money in the stock market. So when you're looking at, well, I'm going to put my money in this thing, or I don't want to have credit cards because they're going to charge me a whole bunch of money. Yes, and a lot of that stems also from using your credit card like it's a debit card, like you already have the money. So if you're using your credit card like a debit card, then you're going to think, okay, well, I have a $600 limit on this card, and I can use the $600 for whatever I want. That's not really what you're supposed to be using that credit for. You're supposed to be using that credit as a vehicle to get you to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
So to bridge the gap, it should bridge the gap for you. So if you have this money already in your budget, then yes, okay, you can use that money. Or if you have a plan to make money more than the interest that's going to charge you, if you carry interest over, I mean, and there's a risk in that also, but they're giving you that money in the promise of you paying it back.
Mm-hmm.
So at whatever point you have to pay that back. So it has to either be in your budget, or it has to be in your future for you to do that.
Right. Like you said, or in your future. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. Just
Right.
miraculously appear. Right.
Sorry about my dogs.
Oh, you are fine. Life is life. Okay, so I would think how to move through this fear. One of them about, okay, using credit cards or just an education of it, is to educate yourself, right?
Right.
So working with a coach such as you, who's done the work, who can provide knowledge on how this process works, how credit works, how to use it wisely, what not to do with it. But I find that we don't educate ourselves because we don't prepare and plan and make time for it. We just
Right.
think it's going to happen willy nilly. I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
washing dishes and say to Google, Google, tell me about credit, and it's going to pull up the right YouTube videos. Like, and I may only be washing dishes twice a week and only think
Yeah.
about it once, right? Like, we
Right.
just don't prepare for it. So that's one way that I have found we get over fear is actually taking time, intentional time to prepare and learn
Right.
about what is causing us the fear. What what's a way that you work with your clients to get through their fears around this?
I use that fear to their advantage. I start with the goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you want? What are your goals when you get to this 800? And I use imagination, of course, imagery, and also I take their goals and I write them down. Actually, I write them down and I recite them back to them every time they want to make a decision. So, if your goal is to buy a house, and then I have you walking through it, and we do mindset work first. So I have you walking through what it's going to feel like, and we use the feeling as well. What it's going to feel like if you walk into the bank with a 800 credit score, and you already know that your credit profile is one that is impeccable. Like, how are you going to feel when you walk into the bank versus how you feel now
Mm-hmm.
when you walk into the bank? But I don't want them to tap into the feeling that they feel now. I want them to tap into the feeling that they're going to feel. So that's one of the things that we use, and I have them imagining how it's going to feel when they give you the approvals. How are you going to feel with that? And then I use that, and I have them recalling that, rehearsing that, and doing that over and over, so that they're not telling themselves this negative stuff anymore. They're telling themselves the positive stuff, and they're also tapping into the feeling of joy that they're going to feel when they have it. So they're borrowing stuff just like they're borrowing it now. So they're using credit the same way. They're using the joy credits that they have that they're going to get versus the credit cards that they have been learned that the learned ability was saying that, the credit cards are the devil. So we use that and we build good habits, and we have them doing that every day, even writing down some of the stuff that they want, but also framing it in a way that they're not looking at these wants and saying, well, the universe, this is what I want because I don't have it. It's like, no, well, what do you want to do with that once you get it? Are you helping people with it? Are you going to educate your family? What's the network effects of you doing this? And that's what we tap into to get them to see that this is bigger than themselves.
You said you're using credit when you visualize how you want to feel, what it will look like when they get to the point that they want. I love that parallel. Right? We talk about physical credit, well, digital credit, and emotional credit
Yeah.
and mental credit. That is brilliant. That's good, LeBarron. You all, I hope y'all took that and you deposited that credit and you're going to use that going
Get
forward.
some interest on that too.
Okay, that will produce some stuff. It really will. But I love what you said about, and I hope you guys heard this. You write down their goals and then you repeat it back to them.
Yep.
And what I heard in my mind was run every decision through the goal you have said you want.
Right.
When you're making the decision about what money am I going to spend, what decisions am I going to make, does this align with the goals that I have articulated I want? And if it does, do it. If it does not, don't.
Yep.
That's a great exercise. you all make sure y'all take this. That's one to take. I'm curious, you are in the space, you're doing this mindset work. I'm sure you have had experiences where you've encountered fears in your life that you've had to work,
Absolutely.
which have brought you to this space to be able to have the expertise to help your clients through theirs.
Hmm.
What's one of the ones that are probably most formative in your life that you've been through?
Yeah, the most formative ones. Well, I guess I'll just pull on the most recent ones, the fix and flips. Because I mean, I'm in real estate now, so I've done the work to get my credit to a place where I can invest into real estate. So it is risky to invest into real estate, but I could let that fear debilitate me to where I'm not doing anything. But I've also done it so quickly now that I can't really think about it because after I've already signed the papers, done all this stuff. Like yes, I've already said yes quick enough for me not to go back on my decision. And of course, when you have your goals written out, when you rehearse those goals for yourself, it's easy to make quick decisions. And I think that's where a lot of people get kind of wary on making quick decisions because you think it's a hasty decision that hasn't been well thought out when that's not the case. You thought about this way before you had the opportunity presented to you, and that's the thing that we're trying to tap into for you when we're saying it's an abundance mindset to where you put the money away for when the opportunity presents itself to you. Now, what you're doing is you got the $20,000 over here. You're doing the work in the meantime to find out what does a good deal look like, what is my profit margins, and you're doing all of that work in the background when you don't have anything presented to you. So when the opportunity does present itself to you and it's a single family 4-2 and the profit margin is $40,000, you're like, no, that's not within my profit margin, so I can't say yes to that. If it's $60,000, you already know, like the same criteria, but it's a $60,000 profit margin. That's good. That's good for me. Let's go. And it's not a hasty decision, but it is a quick decision.
Because you've done the work ahead of time. Okay, I hope you all are hearing this. Because literally, that's planning is one of the ways to move through fear. When fear comes, you can fall back and say, "No, I have prepared for this. I've thought about it." And I really like how you say it's not a hasty decision, it's a quick decision. Because
Right.
if you're putting money away for an action that you know you're going to take later, and you're doing the learning in the interim, then you've already made the decision that this is what I'm going to do.
This is the criteria.
All right. So all you got to do is execute. There's
When it meets the criteria, I can check the box.
There you go. And that's how we get over fear. Like fear is
Right.
the uncertainty of something. But when you know criteria met, check box, check mark, then there's no uncertainty. There's risk with anything, as you said,
Right.
whether I'm holding the money or not, there's still risk.
And then the
But
stuff
when
you can't control, you just have to let go. Like the contractors being terrible or the contractors being great, you can't control that. What
right.
you have to do is do, like you said, we got to do the work first. And then however we vet these people, or if we talk to people we already know that are in the space, because I mean I have a lot of realtors that I've built relationships with that I trust now because I've seen some of the things that they do. And that again is doing the work
Mm.
beforehand. But like when it comes to the contractors not doing what you want them to do, yeah, that's a risk. We're human. You can't do anything about another human. You can't make them do anything. All you can control is what you do.
That's it. Okay, so really quickly to just follow this thread of real estate. So, how long have you been in it? And what's your primary method in addition to like fix and flip and wholesale, or are those it?
So honestly, I've been in it about 5 years, but the work that I was doing was 4 years.
Yeah.
I didn't pull the trigger on this until 2024. So, and I did it twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and then the biggest part of that was I kept getting the nose, like I was telling you, I kept getting the nose. But while I was fixing the credit, and I struggle. I mean, I struggle with the term fixing credit because it's not really fixing it. It's just it's doing the things that you can to get the negative items off of there because of a technicality. So there's a lot of people that think when you get items off of your credit, you don't owe it anymore, and that's not true. You still owe the people if it's on there legit. Like if it's legally on there, you still owe those people, but you're not held accountable for it. So if they don't put it on there right by the standards, then you can get it off of there. And then you're doing this for a reason. So you're like, okay, well, now that my score has jumped up, is this an opportunity? But you're behind the scenes, you're doing the work, you're finding the deals. But I'm gonna get back to the question because I got off the question there. You said, what's my main what's the main vehicle I use now? Fix and flips. I do fix and flips, and then the bridge loan is what I use now. And I mean, people that are in investment, I mean, or you can look it up too. You can find out what a bridge loan is. You can find out what a DSCR is. But if I want to buy and hold, which I'm going to start doing the buy and holds next, but I wanted to get the fix and flip done first so I could have the capital. And it doesn't come out of my daily expenses to have this capital. So the fix and flip is an easy way for you to get large amounts of money based on the criteria, of course. And then you can do the buy and hold. From other people that have done this a while, they say the best ratio for you to do buy and hold and fix and flip is 1-to-1. So if you do a buy and hold, you do a fix and flip, as long as you do them together or you do them one after the other, that's a good ratio for you, and you're never using your daily funds for this.
Oh, see, we could go into a whole nother conversation about the real estate plans and strategies, but not what this is about. What I will ask about is you mentioned you were working on your credit. We won't say fixing. You were working on your credit to get to this point where, LeBarron, most people hear that you don't need credit in order to get into real estate. It sounds like that's not the case.
It's a half truth.
Tell us
at some point,
the two halves.
At some point, you can use your credibility to get lending on that, but in the beginning, they don't trust you with this large amount of money. Like, they're not going to give you $300,000 without a credit check. And even if it's a soft pull, at the point where you sign the paperwork, they're going to do a hard pull. So the difference between what these people tell you is like, oh, and you can also, when they talk about a DSCR, with the debt service computation ratio, it uses the amount of rent that you're going to get on the place to qualify you for lending on that place. You still have to make down payments. They still have to run your credit. You still have to use some sort of W-2. Well, not really W-2. They're if they don't run your W-2 income, then they're going to look at your tax returns for the last 2 years. So those of us that are entrepreneurs, they're going to look at your tax returns for the last 2 years and see if you've been profitable. And here's a whole nother discussion that goes down a rabbit hole. If you write off everything, then you won't qualify for that. So taking all those write-offs in the beginning, that could hurt you if you're looking to be a real estate investor. Not saying that you can't take them and you won't be able to do it eventually, but it could hurt you.
What I'm hearing is education, again, is super important to make sure that you have clear, accurate information to make good decisions.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm getting. Well, I'm impressed because as a want-to-be real estate investor, let me rephrase that. I am a real estate investor. I just haven't bought.
You know, I was going to correct you.
Thank you. I just haven't purchased yet my next property. That's where we are.
You're using that real estate investor credit.
Yes. Y'all catch that? Okay. I applaud you I love that you said 4 years you were studying and this year you got into it, but you put in the work and that is required. And you've now taken action, and that takes to just make those big purchases. It takes moving through the fear, doing it anyway. And like you said, do it quick. You've already prepared for it. It's not hasty. It's quick. Paper's already signed. Okay, now what's the next step? Action is such a great antidote to fear. And you've done that. And so kudos to you. What's the plan? What's the next plan?
The next step. I mean, The next plan, of course, is because, and this is another gem, the buy and holds that we do are multifamilies. We don't do single family holds. So, I mean, for to avoid going down another rabbit hole, just you guys look that up. Look up how to get multifamilies. You can get it on the same criteria that you can get a single family, and it's up to 4 units. Sorry, four and less. 432. Anything above four is commercial. So do what you can with that. But the question, what is next? Next is building the app that I'm coming out with to help. And I mean, of course, I'm targeting young adults and aspiring investors, but it's not information that everybody couldn't use. My goal is to get it to the underserved community, so that it's affordable for them to have bite-sized content that they can look at daily, and it's almost mindless to where they look at it daily and they can start building these habits to better credit that's going to serve them in the future. And we look at some of the mindset stuff, we look at some of the goals you have, and we have you write that down, and you do that stuff daily so that that's a part of your habit.
So this is an app that you're building and creating,
Development, yeah.
that you're developing to help improve the education around credit, or to
Education is the goal for this. I'm not looking to show you how to remove things off of your credit. There will be some stuff in there for you to understand how to remove things off your credit, but the mindset and the habits are the goal for this, to get the education around it, and for you to understand your own credit, not for you to understand everybody's so that you can fix people's credit. This is for you to understand your own credit. And once you do that, once you understand what makes your credit go up, what makes it go down, what happens when you do certain actions, you're going to already inherently learn how to fix your credit, or how to improve your credit. But the goal for this is to get your habits to change, to understand your own credit.
What you're saying is so important, and I'm glad, when you're doing this app, and two, that you're talking about this, because a lot of times when we think about quote unquote fixing credit, that's all we think about, right? We think about, my credit score is not where I want it to be. I need to get it to this point. I just need to do some kind of actions to get it there. And then we get it to that point and we don't think about anything else. Like, we just know, great, I've got it here. I've gotten off the stuff that's bad. I won't let my car get repossessed anymore. I won't, I'll pay my bills on time, and I should be good. But you're talking about the habits that we build that help to grow, improve, and keep good credit. And I'll give you a quick example. So when I was younger, I know that, and I hope my mom won't have a problem with me sharing this, but I mean, there's a good ending to it. But I believe she carried some credit card debt at one point, and she's since paid it off. But one of the habits that I see her do all the time now is she still keeps a checkbook. So sweet. So she keeps a checkbook, sweet little woman, carries it around with her. But and she keeps her credit cards. I mean, she doesn't have as many as she used to, I think. But she will pay with a credit card. And then she will immediately, I've seen her do this in Dillard's, pay with her Dillard's credit card to get whatever benefit comes with it. And then at the counter, write a check to the woman to pay the credit card bill right then. So she developed the habit to make sure that she did not have any credit card debt after she paid it off. So I love what you're talking about. Like, what are the habits that we need to build to have healthy credit?
Yeah. So one of the best habits that you have to build healthy credit is budgeting for what you're going to use. If it's already in your budget, then it's a no-brainer for you. Like, if it's a light bill, if it's a water bill, whatever it is, and then living below your means, that all goes back to what your goals are. So you can look at the long-term goal and see, okay, well, I want to be able to buy a bigger house at some point, whether it's for whatever, like to have your family all around. You want acreage, and that's what I want. But whatever the goal is, you're looking towards that goal, and you're making decisions based on the goal and not based on your instant gratification of, okay, well, I love these shoes. Like, so what? I Do you need those shoes? No, you have 40 pair in your closet. So, yes, you may not have this color red, but hey. But when you do that, you can check yourself, and also like the people that, like, if you're married or if you have a significant other, the people that are around you, they already know your goals as well. So that's another habit. Advertise your goals so that the people that are around you that love you can hold you accountable to it as well.
Mm, mm. Accountability
Yeah.
is essential. And so I love advertise your goals so that you have people who will keep you accountable. Does that help you? Does that shade of cherry red that's different from the burgundy red that you have in your closet, is that gonna get you closer to your house? A good question.
Is that going to make you any money for this house?
Absolutely
Like,
not.
if you sell them on eBay and they appreciate them, I mean, that might be part of your goals. I mean, that might be. But most of us that buy a lot of shoes, we don't want to sell them. We just want to wear them. And I
Facts.
and I'm talking about myself as well. So that's how I
Okay.
know what we want to do.
Okay. I can happily say y'all in that situation because I am not a clothes shopper. I am, unfortunately, I have so many other questions, but I also, LeBarron, want to respect your time. What you've brought and highlighted today has been very enlightening for me. So I know it is for you guys. And like I said at the beginning, because you also help with understanding and educating around business credit as
Right.
well, that you guys need to reach out to LeBarron to get information that is tried, tested, researched, and true. Because there's a lot of misinformation around
There is.
credit in the market. I mean, as there is with anything, but this is something that, especially from a business standpoint, which is obviously connected to your personal, because as you talked about earlier, they're going to look at your personal,
Yeah.
and, right? That you need to have good information on, and as we just talked about, build good habits so that
Right.
because this is in the US for sure, this is a
Yeah.
long-term thing. If you're going to be in business, your credit is going to be a long-term thing that goes with you, and it can
Yeah.
give you opportunities that are bigger than what you may have imagined, or it can
Mhm.
restrict you from those. And so, LeBaron, will you please tell people how they can connect with you, how they can reach out to you, how they can work with you to further this conversation and knowledge?
Absolutely. I mean, my website is Durant Enterprises, which is DURANTENT.net. But I also have Instagram, which is the same, Durant Enterprises. And I mean, a lot of people pronounce it Durant, so you know how to spell it. But I don't pronounce my name like that. I pronounce it Durant. But the famous basketball player is the same way you spell my name. So Durant Enterprises, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of the major places. So you'll be able to find me on those. I'm also on YouTube as well. Same thing, Durant Enterprises, Durant ENT.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for this time today and the education. And thank you
Yeah,
for shining a light onto the things that hold us hostage, keeps us in fear when it comes to this, because the light eradicates the darkness so that
right.
we can move forward. And so thank you for that.
Thank you, Kanisha, for having me.